Hey everybody, this is Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News, episode
15. All right, well, let's get right down to it.
All right, what's our first story?
I think the most interesting story this week is that Lucid has finally announced or unveiled their luxury sedan.
Yeah, this thing is a beast.
Yeah, so this is called the Lucid Air, and it is, I guess, Lucid's response to a Tesla Model S.
I guess the launch edition, which is if you're one of the first 255 people, you can put down $25,500 and get on the list to be the first 255 cars. And that will cost you, they say, I think around $160,000.
Wow.
But you do get a car that'll go 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds.
So it's about as fast as the Tesla?
Yeah, and it'll have a 100 kilowatt battery, although I think the launch edition will have a 130 kilowatt hour battery.
Wow, so that's
a 400 mile range.
Wow, that's huge.
That's huge. And if you see some of these pictures here, the back seat, you can get the executive seating, which is 2 seats that recline to 55 degrees, much like an airplane.
Wow.
And look at that. There's 2 screens in the back which fold down to become trays.
You think that's an option?
I don't know if that, I think for what you're paying to get the launch edition, you're probably getting that.
You're getting that?
Yeah.
Wow. So this should be coming out in sort of the end of 2018?
Yeah, I want to point out, they haven't built the factory yet.
Right.
The $700 million factory, they haven't even gotten funding for the factory yet. So that will be in Arizona. And so it remains to be seen. But I would think that with these pictures and this unveiling, they might excite some investors.
Definitely. I mean, I think that this is a very good-looking car. One thing that I sort of didn't even cross my mind when I was looking at these pictures is how you're going to charge it.
They talk about that there's going to be fast charging options. So, but it won't work on the Tesla network as far as I know. So I don't know how you charge it to drive across country. They didn't really mention that on the website. They talked about at home you might be able to put in some kind of fast charging, although it won't be as fast as a supercharger, obviously, because you don't have the kind of amperage.
Right.
So yeah, they left those questions a little hazy. They're going for the sex appeal of the car.
Yep.
So yeah, it remains to be seen on many of these questions.
It definitely looks good, though.
It does. All right, our next story is interesting that the government has just announced, the Department of Transportation announces a vehicle-to-vehicle mandate to avert crashes. So this would be communication between cars and between infrastructure that would minimize crashes. And some of these statistics kind of blew me away. There were 6.3 million U.S. vehicle crashes on U.S. highways last year.
Wow.
And deaths jumped 10.4% in the first 6 months of 2016. Also in 2015, deaths spiked 7.4% to 35,092 deaths. This was the biggest one-year jump since 1966. Now, I'm trying to figure out why the deaths have jumped. Only thing I can think of is texting while driving.
I think that probably would have a lot to do with it.
And so I think the government knows we've got to do something about this. It's just getting out of control. So what this would mean is that once they finalize these rules, then car companies would have 2 years to have half their new fleet outfitted with the hardware. And then they would have 4 years to outfit their entire new fleets with this protocol. And so they're working right now, I guess all the major manufacturers are working on figuring out how this protocol will work. It would share communication about speed, location, and stuff like that with cars so that they would avert a lot of crashes.
So it's a vehicle-to-vehicle thing, so that's why it's called V2V?
V2V, and also vehicle-to infrastructure. So like it could talk to, like a stop sign, I guess, could talk to it and say, I'm a stop sign, stop.
Oh, wow. That would be interesting.
Yeah. So interesting because it's a different approach than the autonomous driving where the car makes up all of its decisions.
Right.
Here, it's talking to other cars. Now, if you incorporated this into cars along with autonomous, that would be great because then when the car in front of you stops, your car would automatically be told when that brake pedal was pushed, which would be a very fast communication. So I'm excited about the mandate.
That sounds awesome. All right. So there's been a lot of discussion about the supercharger charging issue where people are leaving their cars and they're charging while they're parked and then they keep it parked after it's done charging.
Oh, this is the story from last week.
The story from last week where Elon responded to a tweet saying that he's going to fix this problem. So
well, that's going to take a while, Jesse. You can't just fix a problem in a week.
He's already come up with a solution. He tweeted it. So his solution is that after your car is fully charged, there'll be a 5-minute grace period, and then every minute that your car is plugged in and parked there, it's going to incur a 40-cent penalty fee.
40 cents per minute. Wow. So they immediately just solved this parking problem.
Right. So
Now-
but some people have pointed out, hey, what if I'm traveling across country, like we've done, and I want to park my Tesla overnight at some middle of nowhere supercharger, and there's no one else there? Am I going to have to pay money to leave it overnight?
Well, it's gonna take a few months to figure that out.
So like a minute later, Elon responded. It's not whenever.
I think it was a day later.
A day later, he responds. He says, "Oh, well, we'll just make sure that if the majority of the chargers aren't full, then you don't have this penalty."
Wow. So within a week, they've solved the problem, and they've listened to the community to get ideas from the community.
Right.
That's amazing. I've never heard of a company do it this way.
I've never heard of anything doing
where you can contact the CEO of a company, give him an idea, he accepts your idea, implements your idea, and then tweaks your idea, all with
all
social media.
Week.
Yeah, and all with ideas from the community.
I mean, it's amazing. Imagine a government trying to do something like that.
Wow.
It would take 4 years to get the regulations through, and then it wouldn't be what everyone wants. It's the wrong thing, I mean,
that's awesome.
This sounds great to me. It sounds like it's going to, make supercharging work again. Like, I mean, when we were at the San Mateo one, it just seemed like this is wrong. This is not the way to do it. And this seems like it's totally going to fix it. So I'm excited. I think that's a great
And here's
solution.
a quote from a Tesla spokesperson who says, "We envision a future where cars move themselves once fully charged, enhancing network efficiency and the customer experience even further. Until then, we ask that vehicles be moved from the supercharger once fully charged. A customer would never leave a car parked by the pump at a gas, and the same thinking applies with superchargers." It's totally true, right? You don't park your car at a gas station and then go have dinner.
Right. It's true.
Jesse, do you think that Tesla has become boring?
No, it's a pretty exciting company. I mean, why?
Well, Elon tweeted the other day that he was stuck in traffic, and he said that he was just so sick of traffic that he wanted to invent a tunneling machine and take care of traffic that way.
No way. This is another Elon tweet, huh?
This is an Elon tweet. He started tweeting like crazy. I guess when you're stuck in traffic and you get frustrated, you think, you know what?
I can solve this problem.
I can solve this problem.
Unlike most people, I think he could really do that.
He wants to call it the Boring Company.
I think that's a great name. So,
do you think this is real?
He says in his tweet that I am actually going to do this. I mean, I can't even imagine all the things that he has on his plate every day, but it seems pretty straightforward.
Do you think this will incorporate Hyperloop? I mean, so maybe he's thinking, hey, you know what? The Hyperloop needs to go somewhere. This would be a good place to put it.
It needs to have tunnels probably in the cities. I think that would be...
I think tunnels are great. Since I was a kid, I thought tunnels solve so many problems, but every time I brought it up, people were like, you know how expensive tunnels are?
Right.
Well, I know they're expensive, but it's also expensive to be sitting in traffic.
It's absolutely super expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, I play SimCity, City Skylines. I've got tunnels in all my cities.
You can afford them.
I can afford them.
Right.
Because I put the money where it needs to go. Yeah, I think that could be very exciting.
So we heard last week that Elon Musk would be meeting with President-elect Donald Trump. They had their meeting, and I wanted to point out an interesting fact. I think everyone's heard this by now, that Elon has met with the President-elect. Interesting thing is, at that round table, we'll put up a chart here, there was, all the leaders of industry, Jeff Bezos from Amazon and so forth. Yep. Elon, we think of him as one of the biggest leaders in industry, and he's a billionaire. But when you look at the market capital of his company, it's tiny in comparison with the other companies. If you look at, for instance, Alphabet has 555 billion, Microsoft 489 billion, but Tesla is 32 billion, and SpaceX is 15 billion. So the smallest net worth, yet he's still at the table.
Right, and I think that's because, I mean, what he's doing is so revolutionary, and the amount of jobs that he is bringing to the table. So when he was introducing himself at this round table, he said, hello, my name is Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, building rockets and cars and stuff in the U.S.
Solar stuff in the U.S.
And solar stuff in the U.S. Actually really excited about expanding our manufacturing footprint in the U.S.
Yeah, and so I didn't realize this, but Tesla currently employs over 30,000 people, more than 25,000 of which are in the U.S. They're going to be hiring over 3,000 more manufacturing jobs in Fremont, California, over 1,000 at its solar panel manufacturing company in Buffalo, New York, and up to 9,000 at the Gigafactory in Nevada.
Wow.
So definitely important to have him at the table when talking about job creation.
Absolutely. I mean, what a huge industry that is.
And then also in this week, President-elect Donald Trump met with Leonardo DiCaprio, our favorite actor, who just released the movie Before the Flood.
If you haven't seen that movie, by the way,
fantastic.
I absolutely
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
DiCaprio met with Trump on Wednesday, and they presented a framework that details how to unleash a major economic revival across the United States that is centered on investments in sustainable infrastructure. That's from Terry Tamamin, the CEO of the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation. Our conversation focused on how to create millions of secure American jobs in the construction and operation of commercial and residential clean, renewable energy generation. So I'm excited to hear that President-elect Trump is at least meeting with these people who are in sustainable energy, because it shows that maybe he has a willingness to listen, and maybe this is because of his daughter.
I hope so. All right, so we talked about the Lucid Air earlier in the show, and Faraday Future is also another up-and-coming electric vehicle startup, and they just released some footage of their camouflaged electric SUV beating a P100D Ludicrous Model X.
That's pretty crazy, yeah.
I mean, the Model X is obviously not as fast as the Model S P100D Ludicrous, but it's still blisteringly fast. I mean, this car doesn't have Ludicrous, and I mean, oh my gosh, I couldn't drive anything quicker than this.
Right. Yeah, no, it's going to be unleashed January 3rd at the CES, so we'll actually get our first real look at it.
It's going to look amazing.
I'm excited to see that there's another electric car company that has Tesla in its sights, because it means that, this is the one to beat. And it also shows that by Tesla releasing all of their patents, that has given a leg up to these companies, which is exactly what Elon wanted. They didn't have to start back, years and years ago. They're getting to jump forward into the battery technology and motor technology that Tesla has already invented. And so kudos to Tesla for doing that, because otherwise these companies honestly wouldn't be on its heels.
Right. And I mean, it's awesome because now there is competition for Tesla, and I think
that's going to push Tesla forward.
It's going to push them forward even more. And it's also going to be competition for the bigger car manufacturers, which I feel like in a way makes them even more worthless. Like, I feel like they're going to just be like, well, we can't sell cars now. It's so hard.
It could be.
It seems to be the way that they're acting.
Now, here is a map of the new 2017 superchargers that Tesla is proposing. They just changed on their website. They had a map showing 2016. They took that down, put up this map. We're going to overlay the two, if our wonderful Brent and Bobby editing team can do this, to kind of give you a sense of what's changed and what's changing. Not every single supercharger that they plan to make in 2016 has actually come to truth, and that is probably because you got to pull permits, you got to find locations, and it's harder to do than you sometimes want.
Right.
But this 2017 map looks really incredible too, because they just keep pushing it forward. There's new states that are now getting superchargers on this map, like Nebraska and North Dakota and Arkansas, that didn't previously have, if any. And then they're also pushing up north into Canada, going towards Alberta. So you can see that you can just easier and easier to drive around the country in Canada now.
Right.
Also, they're adding some in Hawaii.
Wow. And this is we're just talking about America. There are tons more in Asia and Europe.
Yep.
So, I mean, and even Australia.
Yeah.
So this is super exciting.
It is.
It's awesome to see this map just grow and grow, because you know that once a supercharger is in your area and it's connected up to the rest of the network, I mean, you can just drive anywhere.
Yeah, and this is, the other car companies that we're just talking about, Faraday Future and Lucid, they're not talking about a charger network yet. So even though they're building fantastic looking cars, they're not doing the other side of the equation, which is the supercharger network.
Right. Okay, so the co-founder of Apple, Steve Wozniak.
Oh yeah, the Woz.
Yes, so a few years ago, Elon Musk was sending him a lot of emails reprimanding him for buying a gas guzzler.
I love that.
So he relented and he bought himself a Model S.
How did he like it?
He loved it. And so then he's recently been looking for a new car, electric car, and he was considering the Bolt, and he had let it publicly been known that he was thinking about buying a Bolt. And so he just got a new electric car.
Was it a Bolt?
Nope. It's a Model S. So he loved his Model S so much that he went and bought another one.
Yeah, he was talking about the fact that, again, the supercharger network.
For long road trips, he says Tesla can't, nothing can beat Tesla.
Right.
He says that he might be considering a Bolt for just sort of driving back and forth to work and stuff like that. But He went for the Model S.
All right.
Good for him.
So GM claims that it will be first to market with self-driving cars.
That doesn't seem correct.
Well, GM must live in their own little world, I guess.
I think they do,
They've been testing 40 bolts in the San Francisco and Arizona area.
Bobby, what are you doing?
What?
That's not the right type of bolts.
What do you mean? There's only one kind of bolt.
No, Bobby, you got it wrong. It's a different kind of bolt.
Oh, okay.
You got it now?
Yeah, I'll do the other kind of bolt.
Okay,
Yep.
cool, great.
They've been testing 40 bolts in the San Francisco and Arizona area.
But all right, maybe let me just try it. Let me try
What?
it.
No.
Bobby.
It's my turn.
Bobby, just let me try it.
I'm editing this
Let me
video.
try it.
And they'll be moving that whole operation back to their headquarters in Michigan. CEO Mary Barra has said that GM will be the first to market with autonomous vehicles. And I guess my question is, like you just said, Tesla's already in production. I think GM is saying they'll be the first to mass produce, and by that they probably mean in the millions of cars, whereas Tesla's only going to be producing in the 500,000 range for now.
Well, I mean, I hope so, because, 40 bolts, first of all, isn't a lot. But 40 bolts is, quite a few bolts if you think about the number of bolts that they're putting out, because they just aren't putting out as many bolts as we thought they were going to.
Right.
That, unless they're going to just unleash the floodgates on bolts, which I hope they will, it still seems like they probably won't do it. Here's a quote. So we expect to be the first high-volume auto manufacturer to build fully autonomous vehicles in a mass production assembly plant.
There's a lot of caveats in that statement.
There's a lot of caveats to basically say that they're the first.
But basically, I don't think any of that is true. Tesla has a mass production assembly plant.
Right.
They are going to produce high volume of cars. 500,000's a high volume.
Yeah.
And they are going to be fully autonomous. So I think GM's wrong. I really do. I also want to point out that GM was going to put this technology in a Cadillac 2 years ago, and that never came to pass. And now they're pushing it off into next year's CT6 Cadillac, which will have, here are the things that it'll have.
Okay.
It'll have adaptive speed cruise control, so it can go from stop to go to traffic highway speed. It'll have active lane keeping and lane steering. It'll have automatic emergency braking, and it'll have side collision avoidance. Wait a minute,
So
that sounds familiar.
This is what we had last year.
Right. So GM will put that out next year in their Cadillacs.
This is,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of these car manufacturers just get to say whatever they want.
Yeah,
'cause
and then
Tesla
the press
won't respond.
Exactly, and the press will just pick up on that statement, and everyone will think
Right, they'll
GM's
just be like,
amazing.
Today in the news, GM has said.
Yeah, so that's why we're here, is to remind you that when GM says something, it doesn't mean it's necessarily true, or sometimes they're bending the words a little bit.
Okay, so last quarter, the U.S. has installed a record amount of solar installations.
No way.
Yes. So the third quarter of 2016, the U.S. has installed 4.1 gigawatts of solar.
Wow.
That's 191% more than third quarter of 2015.
That's just for the quarter they installed that much?
That's just for the quarter.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Look at this chart here. It just shows that we are...
It's just going up and up.
Yes. And there's a reason for that. The price is going down and down.
Right. Absolutely.
And the
So-
sun keeps coming out and out. So it's a win-win for everybody.
At the end of 2016, the solar industry, the total solar industry, will be worth about $21 billion.
Wow.
This industry will directly employ 250,000 people and over 500,000 people who are indirectly hired because of it.
Wow. So 250,000 people directly employed by the solar industry in the U.S.
Yes. And then,
That's a lot of jobs.
and then 610,000 secondarily supported jobs.
Wow. So people who help that industry.
Right.
Wow. That's
mean,
amazing.
that's huge.
almost 1 million jobs. So when people talk about, coal and oil and gas, they're in the wrong. That sector's dying. Get over into the sustainable energy sector.
Yeah.
All right, well, following up with that story, U.S. has their first offshore wind farm off the coast of Rhode Island.
Woohoo!
I was surprised when I heard this story because I thought we already had it.
I know, me too.
I guess because I've been hearing about Europe's offshore wind so much, but this was our first. It's not a big project.
No.
But it's the Block Island Wind Farm. It has 5 6-megawatt turbines. So each turbine makes 6 megawatts.
Those are massive turbines.
That is massive. It'll make a total of 125,000 megawatt hours of electricity per year. There's a 21-mile cable that goes to the wind turbines to the grid, which I thought was kind of amazing to lay down a 21-mile cable.
Wow.
It's going to cut the utility rates by 40%.
Wow.
And the town of New Shoreham will finally be on the grid. This is an island off the coast of Rhode Island, and it used to just be kind of like Tau that we were talking about last week, which
just diesel.
Yeah, which was all diesel,
Ugh.
and so now it's on the grid and it's fully sustainable.
Wow, that's awesome. So, and it looks, I mean, I love the look of wind turbines. I know that some people do not, like my grandmother. And, but man, they are just beautiful. So they're about 3 miles off the coast of this island.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, we're showing you a picture here. It really is amazing, and also it's a technological feat to get these turbines in place. Because look at this truck trying to make this turn. They had to lay down plywood so that the truck would have a road to drive on. But it can be done, and once you've built it, you've got this sustainable energy. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. I wanted to point out that we love your comments so much. We have a comment from last week's show that we wanted to talk about. We got this comment from Simon Salashower, who said, as a student in intercultural business psychology, that's cool. It's
very interesting.
I never even heard of that. I really enjoy your Tesla Time News episodes. At the moment, I have to write a business analysis for the Tesla Motors Incorporated. Your videos are perfect to watch and keep up with the recent developments in the electric car industry while cooking or taking a pause from learning. I also appreciate that you talk about things like the Hyperloop or SpaceX aside from electric cars. I will definitely keep watching your videos, although my analysis will hopefully be finished soon. Suggestion: as I said, your Tesla Time News videos are perfect to listen to while doing other things. Even though you present images and short video clips, it would be an idea to upload the MP3 file as a podcast and put a link to it in this video description. I would love to listen to some interesting Tesla Time news while, for example, sitting in the train. Keep up the great work, and greetings from Germany. Well, thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you.
Great minds do think alike, because this week we are finally on iTunes, and so if you go to the link below, you'll get to our iTunes podcast page, and hopefully next week we will be on TuneIn, which is the network that are in all of the Teslas. So hopefully next week you'll be able to go to your Tesla screen and punch us up and listen as a podcast. We'll be putting our Tesla Time News. We'll also be putting our Off the Grid, which is our monthly show, and I just want to talk about that for a second. The stories that don't make it into our Tesla Time News every week a lot of times go to our Off the Grid.
Right.
We
find so many cool and interesting stories, but we want to keep these episodes short so that you are up on the most important news.
Right.
But a lot of times there's some cool stuff out there, like the Nikola truck. I mean, a lot of you have been asking about it. It's all there and Off the Grid, so definitely check it out. We have new episodes basically every month.
And those are really long and in-depth, and so you can pop those on a podcast while you're driving to work or making your pasta and be listening to those as well. And also our Talking Mars, which is our show where we talk about going to Mars. And so that's on the podcast as well. So if you love podcasts, go check those out.
All right.
Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy holidays. Safe driving, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Now you know.
Now you know.